We start late because the previous meeting ends late, and perhaps since we have a quorum, we can get started. All right, let's press ahead for time. I think there are also meetings being held in other rooms.
This is my thing. 我知。我哋請緊啲。
We're inviting the deputations to come in. My apologies because we start late. We start 10 minutes later than scheduled time because the previous meeting was about landfills and it was extended. I think we have to press ahead for time. And our members are here. I'm not going to introduce the government officials to you because they are familiar faces. We're just waiting for the deputations to come in. I'd like to remind members that if certain issues discussed at the Bills Committee or when we have to vote on certain matters, you may have conflict of interest or of roles. You will have to declare the nature of the conflict. Under Article 83A of the Rules of Procedure, members have to declare the interest, the nature of the interest, should there be any direct or indirect pecuniary interest involved. All right, so please remember to declare the nature of the conflict of interest before you speak on the relevant matters. I have to declare that I'm a voting member of the Jockey Club. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok, member of Jockey Club. Mr. Liu Chang Kwong, director of the Jockey Club, and Mr. James Toh, and another member of the Jockey Club, Mr. Yik, also member of Jockey Club. We are supposed to end at 5:45, but since we start 10 minutes later than scheduled, the meeting will bound to end late. My apologies to deputations, first of all, because the previous meeting was about landfills and we got very enthusiastic speakers. That's why the previous meeting was extended. That's why we have to start late. In any event, there will be 1 hour and 15 minutes for this meeting, for this particular item. On the 8th of May this month, the Secretariat uploaded the invitation for submissions to express their views on this matter. And we have also sent out invitations to the 18 district councils and also the BLC, that is the Betting and Lotteries Commission. As at noon, 24th May, the Secretariat received 12 deputations expressing that they will attend today's meeting, but 16 expressed that they won't come to the meeting, but they submit their written submissions. all the submissions have been collected and sent to the government. I think there are 3 more submissions that we only received today that have been tabled. I would like to remind deputations that you can use the earphones, Channel 0 floor, Channel 1 Cantonese, and Channel 2 English. My reminder to deputations and individuals that your submission is not protected by powers and privileges of LegCo. That covers both your written submission and your speech here. I'll ask deputations to speak according to order because of the time constraint. I'll give 3 minutes to each, and there will also be time for members to raise questions. If you have any written submission, please also give 1 copy to the committee. If you don't have sufficient time here to express your views, first of all, Mr. Martin On. Thank you, Chairman. Concerning betting duty amendment bills, I think we cover local bets on overseas races and the difference in odds. I put forward the technical reason why I support the amendment in my submission. In various races, it's very clear that whenever there are odds differences, and the problem of this is because Hong Kong people do not have sufficient knowledge about the overseas races. And the jockey club can't stop people from betting on overseas races.
For example, if you have a virtual network, if a Hong Kong person has an overseas passport and he has an overseas account, he can place bets, and there's no way we can prevent that. Similarly, an overseas person who wishes to bet in the Hong Kong pool, you can't stop that. He just needs a virtual private network. He has a Hong Kong ID. He can open a Hong Kong Jockey Club account and place bets. When this occurs, you can imagine when the odds in Hong Kong and overseas are different, it would attract overseas bookies, especially bookies that would wish to hedge or arbitrage. So when the odds are better in Hong Kong, so we might have overseas bettors and punters. So that's not good for Hong Kong. Similarly, if we have lower odds in Hong Kong, then Hong Kong people might want to bet overseas. So I don't think we want to see this happen. So standardizing the pools can prevent this cross-border betting, hedging, arbitrage. This is not something we want to encourage. So I personally don't understand betting organizations that are against betting. Why would they object to this? This is actually able to stop betting. So I would support the government's amendment, and we also would like to see it implemented as soon as possible. This is not a healthy development. So aside from legislation, I don't see how we can prevent that. Next, from Lion Rock Institute, Mr. Peter Wong. Before I object to the amendment, our institute feels that we need to clarify that the betting industry in Hong Kong. We need to understand the role of the jockey club in society before we make a judgment. So what I'm going to say, you might feel I'm digressing, but I think it's necessary for analysis. Hong Kong's security and corruption We are aware that it was very rampant in the 1960s, and it was also one reason that led to the riots. So graft is because there is organized crime. They have strong finances, and their finances come from vice, gambling, and this has started since the dawn of mankind. But the problem is, what you drive above ground is being driven underground. So there's a lot of room for development underground. And their police powers were too wide at the time. Their law enforcement, including hawker control and drug and dealing with and targeting drug trafficking. So the largest problems Hong Kong faced at the time was that there were unrealistic prohibitions, and after the riots, the colonial rule was challenged, and the colonial government needed to take extreme measures. And some people thought that having ICAC was the solution. But before the establishment of ICAC, there was a lot of preliminary work done, including the setting up of customs to deal with drug trafficking, and the municipal councils to deal with hawking. And we saw that that was a measure to deal with the overwide police powers. So under monitoring, the Jockey Club was able to take bets, and at the time, the underground business was driven back above ground. The Jockey Club stopped illegal betting, and with the monitoring, the Jockey Club was able to take bets. So the role of the Jockey Club is a social tool. So from the colonial times all the way up to now, the methodology was to use the Jockey Club as a social tool to target underground gambling. Well, do we need to continue this? It seems to be effective, so therefore we support the amendment and allow a Jockey Club to deal with illegal betting. Next, we have the minimum wage concern group, Mr. Wong Kwai-sang. There was I'm a telephone operator with the Jockey Club. I had conducted overseas visits to Singapore, and we're concerned that overseas pools, if it's merged with Hong Kong pools, our frontline workers are worried that there are more and more products, and there are less and less people taking up jobs. So our workload is heavier. In 2009, we had overseas races. The Arc de Triomphe event in October. After a few races, people quit their jobs. It's not that we don't want to work. I support the company, but we need more people taking up jobs. We only have a few dozen people working the night shift. Our staff are just trying to make ends meet. Starting with the incident last year, the company has provided some subsidies. On the 22nd, 26th, 29th of October, there was only $80 subsidy, a 3-day extra work, and we only got extra $80. It doesn't matter. We need more staff. We can't have a complicated work schedule. If you don't want to go to work the first day, you won't work the second day. In Sentosa, Singapore, I'd like Mr. Liu to meet with our frontline staff. We work 9-hour shifts, but there are less and less people come to work. We have some people who have worked 10 odd years, and we have part-time workers renewing their contract every 2 years. And whether their contracts are negotiated, it's arbitrary. Gaming is not a problem. It's we're just understaffed. Mr. Ma Fong Kok, when you came to a ceremony, the company only gave us an extra $30. We can't wait for JPs to save us. We have people leaving their shifts every 4 hours. I'd like the company to take note of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Asian Racing Federation sees there as being three major reasons for supporting commingling. The first relates to international racing. Success at the international level is the pinnacle in every sport. That's true in swimming, tennis, golf. It's equally true in racing. And in our view, international commingling enables international racing to be staged optimally with the unrestricted involvement of its fans. The second consideration is what I would describe as being the free rider problem. If one looks around the world, there is a rising tide of bookmakers and betting exchanges taking wagers on racing without authorisation. There's a growing disjunction. This means an erosion in the funding of racing and an erosion in taxation receipts. And plainly, both of these have detrimental consequences for the community. Commingling enables racing to compete more effectively against these free-riding wagering operators by reducing the scope for arbitrage and by providing its customers with greater stability of odds. And thirdly, international commingling can be an important tool for expanding the sport's geographic footprint by providing immediate liquidity in new markets. Collectively, the Asian Racing Federation's 20 members have substantial experience of commingling. Australia, New Zealand, Singapore and South Africa all engage in commingling internationally. In the case of Australia, domestically commingling has been a feature of the wagering market since 1992. So we speak with considerable experience, and that experience tells us two things. The first is that the common prerequisite of these commingling arrangements has been agreement on the part of government that betting tax is not levied on non-local bets. And the second thing that we have learnt is that the benefits are real. And that's evidenced by the length of time that commingling arrangements have been in place in our member countries and the keen desire of our member countries to expand their activities in respect of commingling. The Asian Racing Federation says so far as the Hong Kong Jockey Club and commingling is concerned this. The Federation views the Hong Kong Jockey Club and Hong Kong Racing as being especially well placed to engage in international commingling. Hong Kong Racing has the dual advantages of an excellent standard of racing and substantial wagering pools. And in concluding, I note that I speak in my capacity as the Secretary-General of the Asian Racing Federation, but I wish to note for the record that since August 2012 I've been employed by the Hong Kong Jockey Club as its Director of Racing Development. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we have Pastor Wu Jiwei from Hong Kong Gambling Watch. I'm speaking on behalf of Hong Kong Gambling Watch, even though I'm aware that we can't stop the 2013 Betting Duty Amendment Bill, but we would like to speak on behalf of the disadvantaged. In this consultation exercise, we see the Jockey Club does not respect the LegCo. In the February document, basically, a lot of issues were not clarified and explained, especially it was said that there was consultation conducted in February, but Hong Kong Gambling Watch, being a major stakeholder, was not given an opportunity to express its views. So that consultation wasn't a true consultation. There were supposed to be a few rounds of consultation, but they claimed that there were technical hindrances and therefore they did not need to consult. If you look at from 2003 up till now, every 3 years, the Jockey Club will say that there is illegal bookmaking, and they would ask for an amendment of the betting duty. In 2006, the payoffs were made more favorable. In 2009, there were 5 extra racing days and 15 overseas races. And this year, we're talking about commingling. So I need to ask, why does the Jockey Club raise an amendment? The government gives it a green light, and the LegCo cannot veto it. When the public raises objections, the government and the Jockey Club will veto such, or will not participate in consultation. So therefore, I urge the LegCo should attach certain conditions to the betting duty. First of all, they need to disband the lotteries fund. The legislators should conduct a regular review on betting issues, because the betting commission has no authority. And second, we urge the government to undertake education and preventative measures, and they also should provide counseling. Thirdly, we urge the government they should raise the betting age to 21 years of age. And just now we heard the frontline staff saying that they urge the Jockey Club to enhance the working conditions of frontline staff, and we should have these conditions met before approving the betting duty bill. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Qin Wailok from the Society for False and Dark. Chairman, first of all, thank you for arranging this meeting. First of all, I support the commingling pool. In my submission, I have the Society for Truth and Light. You should read the paper and understand what commingling is about. Do you understand what commingling is? If you don't, you should read the paper first before you speak. The Jockey Club, whatever service you provide, the pastor and Society for Truth and Light, they will just object it. They would say it encourages gambling. So even if the Jockey Club were to install more washrooms, they would say it's encouraging gambling. The Society for Truth and Light, they will tell you how many compulsive gamblers there are every year, and they would use that to magnify it and to scare the Hong Kong public, and then they would object the Jockey Club policy, even increasing the number of washroom facilities. I started gambling since the age of 4, and I asked my grandparents to place bets for me, and I lose money every day, and but how come I'm still not a compulsive gambler? And I don't see the Society for Truth and Light citing me as an example. So we see they are just playing on the fear of the Hong Kong public to spread rumors. So what is their worldview? So I need to use an example. So in the Society for Truth and Light's worldview, and should be kept in a zoo, and Mr. you should train it, and the jockey Preble could train the horse, and you shouldn't whip the horse too much, because you would be labeled as abusing the animal. You have so much work to do. So you have a singular worldview. You are against everything. And I'd like to tell you, I have 50 cents, and I would like to make a donation to you and tell you what diversity is about. Mr. Chin?
All right, my apologies. That's all I have to say. Next, we have Mr. Ouyang Kawa from Society for Truth and Light. Thank you, Chairman. I'm speaking on behalf of the Society for Truth and Light. First of all, the Society appreciates this is an amendment on duty and is a policy to ensure the interests of the licensed body. We do not pose strong objection. But when we look at the amendment, we find that lots of information has not been supplied by the Jockey Club. That's why we are left with all sorts of problems. Concerning the policy, the amendment, the days of races, the payment of the dividends, and the odds are all factors that may encourage gambling. From Mark 6, we understand that if you increase the odds and if you change the pool system, that may encourage people to gamble. So we're worried with the amendment, with the commingling arrangements, there will be undesirable effects. So our questions, first of all, is about the pool system. Now, there are pools with possible jackpot. What are the results of such such pools? Next, we understand that there are odds on the jockey involved in the races. What are the dividend payouts? And when there is no conflict in the betting system in two jurisdictions, which odds do you go for? If you allow different odds or different betting systems, then there will be more bets. All these are not covered in the amendments. That's why we urge members to carefully consider the details we put forward to see whether they will encourage gambling and whether there will be some very drastic increase in the odds, which will in turn encourage gambling. Next, I want to comment on the functions of BLC, Betting and Lotteries Commission. As far as we know, the Commission does not receive much information, and it's only at the very late stage that they managed to get the information. We urge members to make amendments so that the BLC will do a better job.
I'm an Australian jockey. I've been fortunate enough to be licensed by the Hong Kong Jockey Club and to ride here for the past 9 years. When I first came to Hong Kong in 2003, the only way people in Australia could follow Hong Kong racing was to listen to it on the internet. Then a deal was done between Hong Kong and the Australian racing authorities. An Australian totaliser betting agency started to bet on Hong Kong racing. As a result, the racing television channels began to show some Hong Kong racing. This coverage has expanded to the point where that now every race in Hong Kong is covered live on 3 separate television channels and also on radio throughout Australia. Horse racing in 2013 is a genuine international sport. To give you an example, it's given me an opportunity to ride in countries such as Great Britain, Japan, Singapore, Dubai, and of course Australia. When I ride in the world, it's clear that Hong Kong is regarded as the leader in the presentation and marketing of the sport. It's regarded as a centre of excellence and its professionalism when it comes to the presentation of the horse racing. For Hong Kong racing to continue to develop that image, the issue of commingling of betting pool needs to be worked through, because while horse racing is a great sport, but it relies on customers betting for its success. For Hong Kong racing to expand beyond its current level of excellence, it's critical the commingling of betting pools is developed. To give an example, I rode in Singapore last week representing Hong Kong, I was lucky enough to win the Chris Flyer Sprint. I was staggered by the number of phone messages, texts and calls and well wishes. I understand there was commingling between pools between Singapore and Australian totes. It creates enormous interest. In my opinion, it's the next essential step for that Hong Kong has to be able to make for our racing here to continue to thrive. In summary, the point I'd make, everyone agrees the world is becoming smaller and smaller with regards to technology. Hong Kong horse racing is regarded as a world leader and a best practice in marketing and presentation. The rest of the world wants to interact with Hong Kong horse racing. The introduction of commingling will provide an important opportunity to develop. Promotion of Hong Kong horse racing will result in further interest, awareness of Hong Kong as one of the leading world cities. As an international participant in this sport who loves Hong Kong, it would be great if commingling could be introduced. Thank you.
Thank you, and a belated congratulations to you. 下一位呢係陸家俊先生，香港馬主協會。
Next.
Of the Hong Kong Racehorse Owners Association, I am here to support the two-way commingling contained in this legislative amendment of the caption bill. As background, Hong Kong ROA was established in 1978 by a group of enthusiastic horse owners, and our main aim is to encourage and ensure that operated efforts in all matters pertaining and relating to the interests of horse racing in Hong Kong and worldwide. And the proposed two-way commingling arrangement is very well received by all our members and is considered to be a very effective measure to keep up the high standard of Hong Kong racing industry, which will in turn protect our interests. Members of the bill committees may be well aware that the illegal bookmakers have been making use of the odd differences between Hong Kong and other overseas countries to profiteer. If no action is taken, these illegal bookmakers will become stronger and stronger, and they will penetrate the interests of horse owners and also the jockey club. As horse owners, the last thing we want to see would be our horses being used inadvertently by illegal gambling syndicates for illicit gains. And as law-abiding citizens, we do not want to see Hong Kong condoning in illegal gambling by inaction on the part of the government and the legislators. Commingling has become a very much an international norm amongst racing jurisdiction, and is a proven and effective means to limit odd differences and arbitrage by unauthorized and illegal bookmakers. Therefore, we welcome the government proposals arrangement and support any further actions against such illegal bookmakers. We also, I am sure on behalf of all the owners in Hong Kong, we will welcome when we see our horses racing overseas, we will no longer come across the differences in odds, which is hard to explain to some of our friends. You know, they will call you up overseas and help. You know, if they find your odds are better, they will ask you to place your odds well, you know, somewhere else. So, you know, in a way, if all the odds will be placed in Hong Kong, means Hong Kong will be gaining more tax. So, and we welcome, you know, the government to change this as soon as possible and have it ready by the early of next season. Thank you.
下一位係練馬師姚培芬先生。
Alright, next we have Mr. Ricky Yu, a horse trainer. Good afternoon, I'm a horse trainer, and I was also a jockey in a jockey club. I've spent 40 years in the horse racing industry in Hong Kong. Seeing the industry is developing well, I'm very glad. And our races have already reached international standard. I really feel very glad about it. However, because of the constraints in betting duty structure in Hong Kong, local pools never commingled with overseas pools. On the face of it, we still have horse racing. But in reality, our system, our structure are already lagging behind our international counterparts. If we continue in this way, I'm worried that our world status would be affected. I understand that the government is proposing amendments on betting duty, that is to have commingled pools. I give it my absolute support. The elite horses in Hong Kong have reached international standard, and as a horse trainer, I hope they will make a name for themselves in the world, and that they will be recognized by fans around the world. Commingling will introduce overseas bets to Hong Kong pools with a single odd that will lower the risk for bettors, and that will also attract people who are interested in local horse racing and will encourage development of Hong Kong horse racing. Without increasing the number of days of airing overseas races, I think Hong Kong people will feel assured. We are just proposing to stabilize the odds and to remove arbitrage. Someone brought a race in Hong Kong. I stay in Hong Kong to develop horse racing industry. I hope to see it is blossom. But exactly because of the well-development, we attract illegal bookmakers. This is not something anyone in the industry wants to see. In the past, the government has remained passive. Today, they are willing to make a move by commingling the pools and also to crack down on arbitrage. So I urge LegCo members to support this act, which is injustice. Next, we have Mr. Lui Tim Leung from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
In 2009 and 2012, PricewaterhouseCoopers Limited was commissioned by the Hong Kong Jockey Club to conduct a jurisdictional review of horse race betting duty, with a primary focus on inbound commingling. I'm here to highlight to the Bills Committee the key findings and conclusion of our work. With the exception of Hong Kong, the major racing jurisdictions allow two-way commingling and do not impose taxation on commingled bets from overseas, the so-called inbound commingling bets. In particular, in most major racing jurisdictions, including Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and the United States, betting duties are levied where the bets are placed. Hong Kong is the exception amongst the major racing jurisdictions that levies betting duty on inbound commingling bets. This creates a double taxation problem. That is, tax is being levied both in Hong Kong as well as the location where the bets are placed. Hong Kong levies betting duty on the bets commingled with its pool at about 40% of gross margin, that is, betting turnover minus the dividends and rebates paid to bettors, and this is even after discount. This makes Hong Kong unattractive to other jurisdictions which find this cost prohibitive to commingle their pools with those of Hong Kong. So in light of internationalization of horse racing and betting pools, a competitive betting duty regime harmonizing with the international norm is the premise for Hong Kong to establish fair and successful commingling deals with betting conductors in other major racing jurisdictions in the long run. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
多謝晒，下一位呢係凌基。
All right, next we have Mr. Gary Ling. Good afternoon, Chairman. I am one of the horse owners in Jockey Club. As a horse owner, of course, I love horse racing, and I want to see the industry blossom. And every year, our horses would go to Europe, South Africa. We go there to select horses of good breed. And we want to introduce the horses to Hong Kong to take part in the races. Now, the horse owners, of course, have to gain, but the most important thing is to introduce horses of good breed to raise the standard of Hong Kong horse racing. All horse owners in Hong Kong have this in mind. But arbitrage offers a chance to illegal bookmakers to profiteer.
So therefore I support the bill. the bill doesn't affect betting. As far as I understand, the simulcasting arrangements have not changed, so it should not encourage gambling. Commingling discourages illegal bookmaking arbitrage. So we would like to broadcast high quality events. So the jockeys and breeds, the high quality jockeys and breeds will be made known throughout the world, and we would like mainstream countries or where racing is popular, we would like people around the world to know that Hong Kong has a very well-established sport that is racing, and therefore I support this amendment. Thank you. Administration, would you like to respond? Yes, I can respond later. Do we have legislators with questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you for attending and expressing your views. I have some general responses. Some of the views were just sent to us at noon today, and we might not be able to respond immediately. We could respond later in writing. Now, as you are aware, the purpose of the bill is to amend the betting duty to amend the levy regime such that we can allow for inbound-outbound commingling. Now, I need to reiterate that commingling is not in the interest of the licensed operator. We are examining public policy, and the public policy consideration is that we want to target illegal bookmakers arbitraging on the same event, the same race, because there are different odds. Therefore, we would like to target illegal betting, and that is in line with the government policy. Regarding the tax regime, after amending our law, our tax regime will be in line with the global principle. We will be taxing at source. So for local bets on overseas and broadcast matches, through negotiation, we can have a better taxation. Now, we understand that concerned groups they feel that this arrangement will encourage gambling. But when we put forward this bill, it does not. We have not increased racing days or simulcasting events. The Jockey Club has also said that they will not put forward more racing-related advertisements. So we see that the Jockey Club and overseas betting agencies, after amending the bill, their negotiations and inbound-outbound commingling would be a business decision. So the government will not participate in inbound-outbound commingling arrangements. So some concerned groups have raised the view that the same event will have different betting arrangements, and regarding the details, we'll have to defer to the Jockey Club. But I think there is an important point that I need to clarify, that is the betting and license commission role. So I'd like to refer legislators and attendants to the Betting and Lotteries Commission submission. They have submitted a one-page view. In 2008, when Jockey Club mentioned commingling, they didn't just mention commingling, they had put forward a series of proposals. The government had consulted the Betting and Lotteries Commission. The Deputations had mentioned that between 2008 and 2009, the Betting and Lotteries Commission had conducted consultation and met with different groups. After considering these views, the Betting and Lotteries Commission felt that inbound-outbound commingling tax regime work was not within its ambit. So in 2009, they had already made a conclusion. And that is the one-page submission I referred to. So in February 2013, the government had received the latest update. The Betting and Lotteries Commission had also confirmed its stance, that is, amending the tax regime and commingling arrangements were not within its ambit. They had also noted the Jockey Club and government's points that the same bets for the same race and awarding the same payoff would target illegal bookmaking arbitrage activities, and that would hamper or discourage illegal betting. So the Betting and Lotteries Commission will continue to monitor the situation, and they have said that after operations of 1 year, the commingling arrangements should be reviewed, and Home Affairs had agreed to do the monitoring work. I think Home Affairs Bureau will agree on undertaking this work, and we will also support the work of the Ping War Fund Advisory Committee. Some people had referred to a technical amendment, but the Ping War Fund Advisory Committee looks at wider issues. They're not limited to monitoring Jockey Club betting. They do conduct research. In the past, we had disclosed the results of the Ping War Fund Advisory Committee's research on gambling. In the future, we will also strengthen counseling and support for compulsive gamblers, and will also provide education and counseling for compulsive gamblers. This is my brief response, and I will provide a written submission later. Okay. Do we have questions from legislators? If legislators don't have questions, then we can conclude this part of the meeting with deputations. Well, we'll have to thank the individuals and deputations. So we'll now take a few minutes break, and we can commence at 5:30. We can invite the Jockey Club and move into agenda item 2. Thank you for attending.